Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rebecca Sheffield. Welcome to the It's My Job podcast. If you tuned in for our first episode, then you already know what the It's My Job podcast is all about. If you're new here, welcome. We're investigating what grown-ups who are blind or visually impaired do for work. Where do they work? What kinds of jobs do they do? What did they study at school? We're partnering with students across the United States and around the world to find out about blind and visually impaired adults and their interesting careers. Every episode of this podcast will feature a student interviewing an adult who is blind or visually impaired to find out about what life is like and what they do at work. How do they use technology? And how do they connect with other people? The interview questions were developed by students for students, and we're excited to share these interviews with you. Be sure to stay tuned after the podcast for more information about how you can get involved. And don't forget to tell your friends and teachers so they can listen too. And now for the interview. In this episode, Sienna, a student in Guatemala, is interviewing Dr. Cynthia Bennett. Cynthia is a researcher and a technology expert. Specifically, she's a postdoctoral researcher at Carnegie Mellon University's Human-Computer Interaction Institute. You can follow her on Twitter at CLB5590. That's at CLB5590. Or check out her website, www.bennettc.com. That's www.bennettc.com. Let's listen and find out what Sienna learned from Dr. Bennett.
Okay, first question. What is your job about?
So my job title is called a postdoctoral research fellow. So I'll tell you what each of those words means. So a postdoctoral means usually it's the first job after you get your doctorate degree. So post means after, doctoral, doctorate degree. And a researcher, that means that I get to ask questions about the world and think of kind of a way to answer those questions in a way that kind of teaches the world something new. So I'll try to give a specific example. So I research technology and disability and accessibility. So I'm interested in learning how our technologies that we use every day, like the computer we're using to have this interview, might work better or be more accessible for people with disabilities. And so what I do first, let's say I'm interested in a topic right now, I'm interested in the ways that blind people use touch feedback or tactile feedback to help them navigate. So what are things in their environment, maybe that they touch with their cane or their feet or their hands, that help them know which way to go. And so I'm not the first person to ask this question. And I work on a team, right? My team is not the first person to ask this question. So first we learn, what does the research world, what do blind people already know about this? So that's, looking at what blind people have written about their experience, looking at what researchers have written. And then we figure out, okay, well, what questions do we still have? And so my team has some questions about the ways that technology, like our phones that we use, can enhance or make tactile feedback better or work better with tactile feedback. So right now I'm running a study where I'm learning the specific ways that blind people use tactile feedback in their everyday life. And so that then maybe we can come up with new technologies to support that. So I know that was a long answer, but I hope that maybe helps explain my job a little bit.
Okay, yes. Next question. What software or what programs do you use in your job?
Yeah, I use a lot. So, all right. So I'll try to start with like assistive technologies. So I use a computer and a phone. So I use a lot of technology. I have a Windows computer, I have a Mac computer, and I have an iPhone. I use screen readers on all of those devices. So on my Windows computer, I use a screen reader called JAWS and NVDA. And so they say what is happening on the screen out loud. And on my Mac computer and my iPhone, I use a screen reader called VoiceOver.
Yes, me too.
Cool. And the other really important assistive technology I use is a Braille display. So it converts the content on the screen into Braille that I can read. So I have a Braille display, and then I have a Braille embosser. So if I want to read the Braille on paper, I can use the Braille embosser. I can talk about other technology that I use, but let me know if you would like to move on.
Okay, do you have a guide dog, and are you allowed to take it at work?
So I don't have a guide dog. I use a white cane, but in the United States, if I did have a guide dog, I would be allowed to take it to work because we have a law that says your guide dog can come with you to all public places. So I'm very happy that we have that law, even though I don't use the guide dog myself.
Oh, okay, very interesting. I'm wishing to have a guide dog now.
Oh, cool. That's a lot of hard work to take care of. Yeah.
How many years do you have to study to become a doctor?
So everyone has their own journey through education. And so it will take a different amount of time for everybody. So for me specifically, I got what's called a bachelor's degree first. And I took 3 years to do that. That's actually short. I did school in the summertime so I could go faster. And then the next thing I did was I got a type of doctorate degree called a PhD. And that took me 5.5 years to do.
Oh, very interesting. I was wondering yesterday how many years? What was your first job?
So my first job ever, I was 16 years old, and there's a position, it's called a junior counselor at a summer camp. So I would help with everything. So kids would come to the summer camp to learn to have fun, go swimming, do like arts and crafts and build campfires. And I just helped the kids with all those tasks that they needed help with.
Oh, wow. So that was your first job?
It was my first job, and so it was only in the summer because I was in school for the year. So yep, I worked at a summer camp.
Oh, very interesting. Now, if it wasn't technology, what other career would you have chosen?
Well, that's a very interesting question. A lot of people don't do the same career for their whole life, right? Like, so I don't work at a summer camp anymore. I changed. And before I chose to work in technology, I actually wanted to be a therapist, like it's called a psychologist. So I wanted to do counseling with people to provide, help if they needed help dealing with, different emotions or different hard things they were dealing with in their life. So my bachelor's degree is in psychology, and that was my plan. But then I discovered I could research technology, and I changed my mind.
Yes, I like technology. I love technology. Okay.
Me too.
Yes. What skills do you say that we have to develop if we want to work in technology?
Yeah, so technology is a very broad field. And so there are actually a lot of different skills that you could develop. Some skills that I think are very common are to have very, very good communication skills. So to be able to talk to people and write in ways that are clear, that you can say what you mean and ask for what you need. And that's, whether you're asking for help because you're a blind person or just because you're new at your job and you need help with something. I also think if you are going to work in any career, you need to know some technology skills. So, understanding how to use the internet, your email, your calendar for scheduling meetings, how to use like word processing and making presentations like slides that you share with other people. And also I think understanding different computer tools that are more specific to your job So for example, for me as a researcher, I need to understand how to use software that helps me do math and calculate numbers about, the research information that I'm collecting. If I collect a bunch of data, I need to be able to use software to organize that data and draw conclusions about what that data is telling me. Skills for people in technology, you might learn how to write computer code. This is called programming. You might learn how to design. So that's kind of more like the interaction that the user might have. So there's a lot of different skills that you might learn depending on the specific career in technology that you choose.
Oh, okay. It's very interesting, that answer. I was wondering how, because I want to work in technology when I grow up, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So, what was the most amazing or fulfilling thing that you have ever done in your job?
It just happened 3 months ago. So I will say actually getting my PhD, finishing that was really great. That was hard and it was a long time.
Congratulations. Congratulations
Oh,
for you.
thank you.
Yes. And at what age do you discover that you would like to work in technology?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before, I kind of changed my mind. So I actually didn't figure this out until I was 23.
Wow.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. It's very interesting at 23.
Yeah, so you can change. It is possible.
Yes, it is possible. Very possible. I like technology now and I want to work in technology. I like to be an artist too. I like art and I like music.
Yeah, well, there are wonderful jobs that you can combine all of those skills,
Yes.
Musicians need to use technology to take a recording of music and make it ready to play on the radio. There's a lot of technology that goes into that. And there's a lot of ways to make art with technology. So I think that's why I mentioned technology is such a broad field. Really depends on what you do to know what skills are needed.
Yes. So I would like to be a lot of things. I already didn't decide what I want to be, because I want to work in technology. I want to be an artist. I want to be, I don't know. I want to be a communicator, and I want to work maybe on the radio, on TV.
That sounds great. And I know there are some blind DJs actually.
Yes. 10th question. Which was your favorite class when you were at school?
Yeah, that's really hard. And I think one thing I wanted to say, this is maybe for the teachers that are listening. My teachers made some classes my favorite. So I have to say there was a time when chemistry was my favorite class. There was a time when pre-calculus was my favorite class. And there was a time when literature was my favorite class. And I think that's a wide variety of subjects. I love to learn. I went to school for a very long time. But in those classes, I think it was the teacher not only making the learning, fun for all the students, but that also went out of their way to make sure that I had access to the content.
Yes, I think that my favorite class is English, maybe music and art.
Well, there you go. You want to be in technology, music, and art, so it makes sense that music and art are your favorite.
Yes, because I like technology. But this year I am learning to code.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so
I wish I had learned when I was a kid.
Yes, because we have to do it in robotics. And
that's great.
Yes, and the last question, which will you say that was an obstacle finding job being a blind woman?
So finding a job was really hard for me, and especially before I had my PhD. So I got my bachelor degree and I worked for 3 years before I got my PhD. And for me, the hardest thing was I would get to the job interview and I think the person who was interviewing me just didn't think I could do the job. And so what I learned from that is I think as blind people, it's very important was you probably heard a word called networking. It's very, very important to go to meet people that, when you're not at your job interview, but you're just going to meet people who do the job that you want to do and get to know them. And they can sometimes help you. They can maybe put in a reference for you to tell this person, oh, well, you don't know how, Cynthia will do the job, but Cynthia knows how Cynthia will do the job and you should trust her. So I found that networking, getting to know people who do the job that I want to do and meeting them a few times, being interested, listening to them, they usually are helpful in connecting me with job interviews that go a little bit better.
Yes. Me and my family always say that we can do all, that we can do everything that we want, just have to practice and to find a way to do it. And I believe it. Yes.
Yeah, especially the practice part, it does take a lot of practice. We don't get to do it right away.
That's true.
Great.
So that was all the questions. Yes, you answered them very good.
Oh, thank you.
So this is Dr. Sheffield, and this has been a really, really interesting interview. Thank you so much, Sienna and Cynthia. I wondered, Cynthia, if you had any questions for Sienna.
Yeah, so I would like to learn more. You mentioned you're in a robotics class, and what are you learning in that class?
I am learning to program, but they use a program named MakeCode, and I will say the truth, it's very visual, and I can't do things that are visual because I cannot see. So we searched for programs, and now I am learning in a program named CodeQuest, another name Swift Playground. Swift Playground is like you are in a world and it has a map. We can play it in the iPads or in the Mac computers, and it's very fun. And in robotics class, that's what I'm doing because I'm receiving it like here because at school they work with MakeCode and with another name Scratch that is also very visual, that you have to use the mouse, and the mouse requires to see a little bit. So they don't work to me. So I am working Swift Playground.
Well, that's so wonderful that you and your family did that research to figure out something that would work better for you.
Yeah.
What do you want to learn next? So you're working with Swift Playgrounds, maybe working on robotics. Do you know maybe something that you want to learn in the future that you're excited about?
Something that I am excited to learn in the future. So I want to learn to manage a robot and to program it. And I want to learn also Chinese, and I am learning to play the piano now. So I want to learn more to play the piano in the future. I want to learn more English and I would like to be an artist and to work because I love technology and I love art, and I also love robotics, and those are things that are very interesting for me. And other thing that I will say that I want to do in the future is my YouTube channel, because I am doing videos in my YouTube channel, but I want to do more videos because I love to make videos, and I think that is very, very good to make videos.
Well, thank you for telling me. I think you're going to be very busy, and I can tell you're excited, and you would be a great host on your YouTube channel. So good luck to you. I'll be looking out for your famous viral video.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Well, we're getting to the end of our interview. I wanted to ask you both to share some advice for people who may be listening, who, especially now because of the virus and what's going on in the world, a lot of people are working from home. So what advice do you have for people who are working or studying from home to stay entertained or engaged or connected with the world? Who would like to go first?
Who would like to go first? Okay, I want to give an advice. I want to say that for the people that are working at home and that can't go outside to work, and the people that are doing things at home and that can't go outside to do something, that make their activities and pass in their home and has fun and do things that really has to do that. So they had to learn in the future something, for example, that that we can learn something, or we can find in Google something, or we can draw, or we can do things that are going to be functional in the future.
I think that's wonderful advice, both to make sure that we're getting outside, as Sienna mentioned, and then as well, take this time to learn a skill that maybe you don't know yet. I would say for me, I have a hard time sometimes. I need to talk to people. That makes me feel better. So some of my friends, we have had group chats over Zoom. So we've had group chats on the internet, and we all get to talk to each other, and that's been very helpful for me.
Yes, it's very, very interesting to chat and to talk to each other. We also, sometimes I talk with my friends, and we talk about many things.
Yeah, no, it's a great time. I think sometimes when we are working at our jobs, at like where we have to go to the office, I sometimes don't always respond to everyone who sends me a message. So this is a really good time to catch up on that kind of stuff.
Yes, and to take care and don't go outside, because this is a very great advice to don't go outside and take care, because sometimes outside can be people with the virus, and
we should follow the advice from the doctors. That's definitely a great point.
Great. Hi, it's Dr. Sheffield again. Thanks for listening to the latest episode of the It's My Job podcast. Wasn't that interesting? It sounds like both Sienna and Cynthia are learning a lot about technology. What do you think? Did you think of other questions you'd like to ask Cynthia? Would you like to interview someone yourself? Or maybe you have a suggestion of who we should interview next. We would love to hear your ideas, and there are lots of ways you can connect with us. One way is to share your ideas by phone. Our phone number is 202-688-5044. That's 202-688-5044. You can call us and leave a voicemail, or you can send us a text message. If you ask us a question about one of our interviews, we'll try to read the answer in a future podcast. Let us know if it's okay to share your first name and where you're from. And make sure to ask your parents if it's okay too. We also have an email address for questions and comments. That's going to be askitsmyjob@gmail.com with no spaces. So askitsmyjob@gmail.com. No spaces and no apostrophe, even though we know it should be there. And you can find us on Facebook. Just search for Ask It's My Job. We've set up a Google Classroom where you can participate in online discussions about our podcast interviews. Teachers can share lesson plan ideas and connect with other teachers. To access the Google Classroom, you need to be logged into a personal Google account, not a school or business account. Then go to classroom.google.com and enter the class code USULXEQ. That's USULXEQ. And finally, we have a YouTube channel called It's My Job, where you'll find all of our podcasts and can give us suggestions and ask questions. If you missed episode 1, head over to YouTube to hear what Muhammad found out about Mr. Reichert. This was our second podcast, and there will be many more. We need your help. If you're a student who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be an interviewer on a future episode, please have your teacher or parent contact us via phone, email, or Facebook page, and we'll get you matched up with an interviewee. We'll ask you to prepare 10 questions for your interview and then set up a time to record the interview over the phone or over the computer. Don't worry, it's easy and we'll help you. If you're an adult who is blind or visually impaired and would like to be interviewed, please send us a message via email, phone, or Facebook, and we'll get back to you. One more time, our phone number for text messages and voicemail is 202-688-5044, and our email address is askitsmyjob@gmail.com. We have a lot to be thankful for in this episode. Thanks to Sienna and her family for a great interview, and to Dr. Cynthia Bennett for sharing her time as our interviewee. This interview was facilitated by me, Rebecca Sheffield. Thanks to Diane Bronner from Perkins Paths to Technology for the connections, and thanks to Nancy Muldrew with CTVI for the transcription support. Our music is from purpleplanet.com. With so many people working and studying from home, we hope that this podcast will give us all a great opportunity to learn from each other and increase our awareness about all the amazing jobs that are being done by people who are blind or visually impaired. Have a great day.